Today is Friday, November 21, 2014, the 325th day of the year. There are 40 days remaining until the end of 2014. On this day in 1927, striking coal miners in Colorado are allegedly attacked with machine guns by a detachment of state police dressed in civilian clothes. The 1927 mine incident at the Columbine mine outside the Rocky Mountain Fuel Company town of Serene, Colorado, drifts further into the obscurity of time plus senescence. Born in 1908 in Trinidad, Colorado, Amelia Milka Sablich grows up as a coal miner's daughter. She's a tough kid. They call her Flaming Milka because she wears bright red clothing, and she's got a mean disposition. She gets into fistfights with men, not excluding mine security guards on at least one occasion. The 1927 strike called by the International Workers of the World, the Wobblies. Milka Sablich and her sister Santa are organizers. How old is she? Do the math. Wait a minute. 1927 minus 1908. Let's see now. Okay, 19. She's 19. I knew that. 19 years old. The mine owners in no mood. They don't need the aggravation. When a fight breaks out between strikers and units of the state police, machine gun fire kills 6 miners, injures dozens more. It's unknown whether the machine guns are used by state police or company guards because the troopers are out of uniform, wearing civilian clothes, the better to blend in with the crowd, and because during the investigation, testifying officers can't seem to remember any details about what they were doing at any time during this day, 1927. We know the story about the Columbine mine massacre because of Flaming Milka Sablich. When she gets out of jail, she travels the country telling the story, raising money for mining families back in Serene. On this day in 1877, Thomas Edison announces his invention of the phonograph, a machine that can record and play sound. Edison's machine uses cardboard cylinders wrapped with tinfoil as a medium to be engraved with a groove containing sound vibration waveforms recorded as physical deviations, which, when traced with a metallic stylus, can accurately reproduce the original sounds. Edison calls his invention a phonograph, from the Greek, meaning sound writing, and he calls these cylinders phonograph records. In 1881, Alexander Graham Bell improves the cylinder recordings using hardened wax as a coating, replacing tinfoil, to produce a less metallic, warmer sound. The popularity of wax cylinder recordings begins to decline around 1915, replaced by Emil Berliner's disc recording gramophone system, patented in 1888. By the end of World War I, gramophone players and discs have overtaken Edison and Bell's wax cylinder phonographs in popularity, although to the public, record players are still called phonographs as a generic term, and the new discs are still called phonograph records, or just plain records. In the early 20th century, the Victor talking machine company, founded by Eldridge R. Johnson, introduces the Victrola, an improved, mass-produced record player. And Johnson comes up with the idea of recording well-known musical performers on his Victor label to sell records, marked with the little fox terrier Nipper, his head cocked, intensely listening to his master's voice through a Victrola horn speaker. Between 1904 and 1920, the opera star Enrico Caruso records for Victor's Red Label series, becoming the best-known and best-selling recording artist in the world. Caruso dies 1921, but by then America's musical tastes and record-buying habits have changed. It's the birth of the jazz age. On this day in 1959, American disc jockey Alan Freed, who popularizes the term rock and roll and music of that style, is fired from New York radio station WABC 770 AM for refusing to deny allegations that he participates in the payola scandal. Alan Freed, born Johnstown, Pennsylvania, 1933, musters out of the military in 1945, bounces around as an announcer and programmer at a number of small radio stations in Pennsylvania and Ohio until he finds his niche, finds that sweet spot, for him anyway, playing late-night big beat jazz and pop dance records that reach a younger audience at WAKR Akron. The station signs him to a contract with a non-complete clause, meaning that if he quits for any reason, he can't work for any outfit in competition with WAKR. So Freed does what any ambitious young huckster would do. He moves to Cleveland. He gives himself a fake name, and he goes into partnership with local record store owner Leo Mintz. They buy airtime on WJW 850 AM and create The Moondog Show, playing rhythm and blues and jump blues and the new rock and roll records all night long. Fried becomes the Moondog, the king of the Moondoggers. The Moondog howls at the moon. The kids love him. Leo Mintz sells more records than he imagined humanly possible. Fried's profile elevates. On March 21, 1952, Fried produces, promotes, and MCs the world's first rock and roll concert, the Moondog Coronation Ball, at Cleveland Arena, featuring 5 bands. Inevitably, on this day in 1959, working in New York City at WABC, Fried, accused of taking cash money and other favors in exchange for promoting records on air, that is, putting these songs in heavy rotation on his program. He takes a writing credit on Chuck Berry's Maybelline, meaning he gets a taste of publishing money for every record sold. So it behooves him to push the record hard, so impressionable teenagers will go out and spend their parents' hard-earned cash dollar money to buy it and play it at their own dance parties in the den at home. All is cozy, a sweet arrangement, a swingin' soiree, high times. You know what happens next. The United States Senate, always interested in alternative methods of making a dollar, investigates the practice, payola, whereby record companies provide promotional consideration, that is, cash money, liquor, women, to radio disc jockeys in exchange for pushing specific records. Fried, subpoenaed, proves an uncooperative witness. It doesn't help Fried's cause even slightly that the music and recording artists he favors and promotes most enthusiastically are black African Americans. By 1960, the payola practice outlawed, a federal crime running afoul of the Interstate Commerce Commission, which goes a long way to explain why pop music in the early 1960s is so white bread lousy. Disgraced, stripped of his influence, Fried's fired from his big-time Manhattan radio job, loses his TV show too. Now, if anything, he's a footnote in music industry history. Alan Fried. In 1965, an alcoholic, he dies in Palm Springs, California hospital from complications related to cirrhosis of the liver. He's 43 years old. American cosmologist, author Carl Sagan writes, "One of the saddest lessons of history is this: if we've been bamboozled long enough, we tend to reject any evidence of the bamboozle. We're no longer interested in finding out the truth. The bamboozle has captured us. It's simply too painful to acknowledge even to ourselves that we've been taken. Once you give a charlatan power over you, you almost never get it back." From Rutland, Vermont, this is Richard Alcott speaking.